In a first-of-its-kind General Assembly meeting, world leadership and stakeholders converged at the United Nations headquarters in New York, sharing ideas for anti-corruption measures critical to post-pandemic economic recovery. Leading Nigeria's delegation to the UN was the executive chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, Mr. Abdulrasheed Bawa, the first indigenous officer to head the anti-corruption agency. In this interview, he gives an insight to his career path, vision for the EFCC, and more. What inspired your career path?
Well, I was a young Nigerian that applied to be employed by the EFCC, and then I was lucky to have been recruited by the then leadership. Together with 117 of us, we were trained at Police College Ikeja, and then afterwards, we were all transferred to various places to start our career path. But it's something as an individual I've always loved to do: law enforcement thing, issues of investigation, trying to look at something that you don't know why it is going to end. Particularly, when you are investigating cases of advanced fee fraud or cybercrime, that you don't even know the suspects, and then you are more or less in an adventure, kind of. But I think the inspiration has always been to contribute your quota to the betterment of the country. Nigeria is in their need of individual citizens to contribute their quota in whatever role they find themselves in, and that has just been what has motivated me, I think, to continue to do what I've been doing since when I joined the commission, and to also motivate others, young officers, to also join and do what they have to do for the betterment of our country.
Did you at any point nurse the thought to lead the commission someday?
Well, every officer of the commission, or every officer of any organization, if he actually wants to be the best, he should aspire to head that organization or to head that institution that he's working for. By doing that, that means you have to be above average. That means you have to be above board. A lot of people have said so, several times, that they see me heading the organization, but I never thought of it to happen so early for me. In fact, when it happens, I was telling some of my friends that the career that I so much love, pursuing, has now come to an end, in the sense that I've reached the pinnacle of it when I still have more than 15 years, to go. But here you are. You can go at any time. You can go at the tenure of the end of the tenure of Mr. President, or at the end of your tenure, which is in 4 years' time, or you can be lucky to have another renewal. In either case, you still have a lot of years that you ought to have served to retire after working for 35 years. But then it's a sacrifice worth giving. It's an opportunity worth taking, and it's something that we will give our best. Myself and the team have resolved that we'll continue to contribute our quota to the betterment of the commission and Nigeria at large. There is no regret about it.
Now, walk us through your vision and agenda for the EFCC under your leadership.
Well, the vision of the EFCC have always been to rid Nigeria of economic and financial crimes, and that is my vision. And how that is going to be achieved is based, of course, based on the resources that you have. We are trying to, as much as possible, to build an institution that will stand the test of time, to have rules and regulations in place, to develop our own human capacity, to relate with foreign law enforcement agencies to know how some of these things are being done, to bring in international best practices in our approach, to have international cooperation, which is why I'm here in the UN, and of course, the stakeholders at home also, to bring them on board, to ensure that the mandate of the commission is achieved. And then by and large, of course, in line with the National Anti-Corruption Strategy, we hope to reorient Nigerians in terms of their own ethical stand on some of these issues. We also, try to, as much as possible, to give more emphasis now in the area of prevention rather than investigation and prosecution as well. And that is part of the general proactive nature to fighting the scourge of economic and financial crimes. I don't know whether you remember, I gave the distinction that there is difference between fighting corruption and fighting corrupt individuals, and we want to see a situation whereby we are fighting corruption, not corrupt individual, because fighting corrupt individual has to do with investigating them and prosecuting them. Of course, that prosecution can lead to fighting corruption in the sense that it can serve as preventive and deterrence measures as well. But we hope to be advising government on policy changes on some of the issues that we have seen, red flags in place, so that those red flags can be taken out, and it will eventually lead to non-commission of such offences in that line of. And that is why, as a commission, we are working tirelessly towards building our capacity on the knowledge of fraud risk assessment, so that institutions of government as well as even the private sector will assist them in trying to assess their vulnerability to fraud and corruption as well.
What are some of the measures the Commission will be adapting to reorientate the citizens?
Nigeria is a very religious country, my sister. If you spread the map of the world, there is no country that attends churches more than Nigeria. If you spread the map of the world again, Nigeria is a leading Islamic country. We are religious people. Way back 2012-13, the EFCC launched the Interfaith Dialogue, in which leadership of both religious bodies were brought together and documents were produced. And the whole agenda is for us to take this anti-corruption through these religious institutions. Now, when I came on board, we brought the same religious bodies together. They have reviewed those manuals, and very soon we are going to launch those manuals and will ensure the implementation of those issues there. We believe that the faith that Nigerians have, if we can talk to their conscience through that, they will be able to awaken themselves to the fact that, look, we just have to do the right thing. That is the whole idea. Change in attitude is everything. To be able to do the right thing in all facets of our lives, and I think that is key. Once that is in place, we believe that the thinking will change, corruption will reduce, and we'll have a better country than we have now. And again, of course, enforcing the law, is very, very important for people to have that belief and thinking that they can be gotten and they'll be punished based on what they have done. It's very key in trying to deter people, from committing corrupt practices, acts everywhere.
How would your style of leadership be different from your predecessors?
Well, it will be different because I have a lot of predecessors to learn from.
Well, that's a good one. But you are the first indigenous officer to chair the commission. What can we expect that you will do differently than your predecessors?
Well, not entirely different. I have worked closely with virtually all the chairmen that the EFCC had, and they are very, very wonderful set of officers. The pioneer chairman, Mama, herself, my boss, Mr. Lamude, boss, Mr. Bawa. I've worked closely with them, and I've seen their leadership style. I'm going to take a bit and pieces of what they have done, put it together. But I think by and large, it's leading by example, being above board. As the head of the organization, I'm at the front. They should follow my examples based on, and that means setting high standards for yourself in terms of how you behave, how you walk, how you carry out the actions. Actions should be able to speak louder than this. And then, of course, to always carry everybody along, to bring in the best for the commission as well, to listen to everybody. Engagement with other stakeholders. We can't do it alone. Luckily for us, EFCC, if you look at the composition of the board, we have virtually all the law enforcement agents on board. So we can leverage on that and push through it. Nigeria should be able to own the fight. It's everybody's responsibility to do. We are all citizens of the country, and I think by and large, that is what we intend to do. That is what we intend to achieve. And as I said, I want to leave behind an institution whereby one day as a chairman, I will ask somebody to do something, and he'll look through to my eyes and say that, look, Mr. Chairman, I've understood what you asked me to do, but I'm afraid I'm not going to do it because it is contrary to ABC. That means we are curtailing and removing a lot of discretion to how we approach the work and how we are doing the work. And I think the country will be better for that.
So we can expect to see you stand up to stakeholders and those in authority.
Certainly, that is the work. I'm beginning to realize that the job of the EFCC chairman is a hate job. People will ordinarily hate you because here you are in the Nigerian context. Somebody has arrived. He has gotten money. He is a rich man based on the opportunities that were before him. And here you are trying to take it out from him. Trying to recover it for the government, for the betterment of all the citizens instead of him. And people will naturally, don't like you for that. And that is why corruption tends to fight back. People have said all sorts of things regarding the former leadership, and it is not out of place to link it up with certain people that were made to part with their resources. That is it. But then, of course, it's a bullet worth taking for the country. We will do the right thing. If it is God saying one will die doing the job, so be it. After all, nobody can, pass a minute, 1 inch, than what God Almighty have already prescribed that He's going to stay in this world.
How do you intend to go about changing misperceptions that the general public may have about the Commission, and what role can the media play in helping to amplify your policies?
First and foremost, the Commission have always engaged the civil society organizations, NGOs, whistleblowers, the media, and they are always welcome, to partner with us, to join us, in the fight against corruption. You see, generally, my sister, once you hear that there is misperception or disagreement regarding an issue, two things must have happened. Either one of the parties is not aware of the fact, is not privy to the fact, or somebody is just trying to be mischievous. But for everything that the Commission is doing it within the ambit of the law. There is an act that guides us first and foremost. Of course, there is the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So we are not doing anything that is not within the ambit of the law. The law is there to guide us. Now, as I said, even during my recent National Assembly appearance, it is practically impossible. It is impossible for assets that has been recovered by the Commission, and then for anybody in the Commission to say that he's taking it somewhere other than to the victim of that. Now, EFCC have evolved. We even have a full-fledged Directorate of Asset for Future and Recovery Management. Yes, the operations will recover, but this is the person that is in charge of it. And for the people that are even making this, they are aware that this is the situation. So we'll continue to do what we have to do the right thing. We have an obligation to engage with Nigerians, to let them know about the ills of corruption, about our activities. We'll continue to do that while trying to avoid what you people in the media are saying, that we are doing media trial, etc., etc. And then, of course, we have responsibility to the National Assembly and international obligations, of course, to meet up based on what Nigeria have rectified.
How is the Commission working to checkmate internal corruption?
One is to have rules and regulations that are very clear. Is to have the standard operation procedures. Very, very important to avoid usage of discretion. And most importantly, we are trying to embrace technology. We are trying to digitalize our processes. Usage of technology is very, very important and key, to curtail and to remove human contacts, which is what is causing some of these, problems. But again, that the Commission since 2012 have a Department of Internal Affairs. Now, this department is scheduled with the responsibility of policing staff, officers, and men of the Commission itself. We have given them a new mandate of saying that, in fact, they should have a file for every staff, what he earns, what he is doing, what he has, etc., so that they will be monitoring. And we are trying to launch an app where individuals can report crime digitally online, for us to look at it. The issue of bribery and corruption is everywhere. All countries have agreed that there is one form of corruption or another, and the EFCC is within this thing. Of course, there are bad elements there, but we are trying to weed them out, have high standards of issues.
What are some of the challenges the Commission is facing with asset recovery in foreign jurisdictions?
The challenges are there. There's nothing new out there. And that is why gatherings like this are there to checkmate those challenges and those measures. The area of international cooperation we're talking about is about sharing of information and sharing of intelligence in terms of investigation. But most importantly, out there is the return of looted assets back to victim states for the utilization of this. The challenges, to me, is more or less of identification and tracing in the first instance. Local provision of the laws are very clear. Now, once that is done and the case has been established, then you look at the second hurdle, which is trying to take those judgments, those pronouncements of the court to foreign jurisdictions for them to now, repatriate that. One of the challenges is trying to dictate to member states on what to do with those funds. You understand? Nigeria, along with other, countries, developing countries, have kicked against that you can't, you are tumbling away with our sovereignty. And member states are talking by and large, with that. But I think the most important thing is areas of collaboration to identify and trace is very, very important. Issues of repatriation, I'm not aware, for instance, of any case in Nigeria where we have identified and we have traced, and then the country that is holding on to those assets is looking at Nigeria to say that we are not going to return the assets. Of course, the only hindrance to the return are some administrative and other exigencies that back and forth have been taking place in order to allow those assets to be returned.
Where do you draw the inspiration from?
Optimism that the country is going to be better. I have a strong belief that Nigeria can be changed. The president is committed to it. The government is committed to it. Young Nigerians are like us, are also committed to it. I have a very strong belief that, anybody, wherever he is, wherever tough that he is standing, he should be able to do the right thing within his space. So that if the next person is doing the right thing, another person is doing the right thing, then you have a very good society, you have a very good community, and then you have a very good nation. That has just been the inspiration. And I believe that I'm going to die one day. And I also believe that I'm going to be asked what I have done, actions that I have carried out while on earth. The fear that I will be asked, the wrong thing that I have done, is always a motivation and a reminder to me that I have to do the right thing always.